let's answer a question together with David, how we can untrap product teams and simplify the product game. Please welcome David Pereira.
All right. So I have a secret to share with you. But before I reveal it, I need you to answer one question. But I need you to be very honest, even if that hurts. Have you ever felt like a backlog manager instead of a product manager, or was impacted by a product manager behaving as a backlog manager? If so, raise your hand. I'm gonna do that as well. I have a Golden Pass membership for this club. For many years, I thought I was a product manager. But then I realized actually I was not. I was a backlog manager. That's my secret. What did I do? I bloated the size of backlog because I thought my job was to gather requests from stakeholders. What else did I do? I shipped features at the speed of light that nobody cared. That was the story of my life. But after many years from different places, what I realized is that it's very hard to be a product manager because everyone wants you to be a backlog manager. The slide went a little bit too fast here, sorry for that. But everyone wants you to be that, a backlog manager. Features are all that matters. Sales will promise something. Stakeholders will load you with requests. There's always more to do than you have capacity to. So the system will quickly transform you into a backlog manager. And what about value? Who cares? Who cares about value? You, all of you care. That's the reason you're sitting here today, isn't it? You want to transform something for the better. But the real question is, how can you drive value when almost everyone distracts you from it? And now, I'm going to tell something that is a little bit obvious, but often ignored. You cannot reach somewhere that most teams don't reach by doing what most teams do. You've got to be bold. You've got to take risks. Sometimes you may need to ask for forgiveness, but not for permission. And now at this time of the year, it's a little bit dangerous moment. Does everybody know what's going to happen in discussions right now? Any idea? People want to know what's going to happen next year. And how you answer this question is very important. A common way of answering this question will be something like this. I need to show it to you, and you're going to tell me if this makes sense or not. So what are the teams working Q1, Q2, Q3, Q4, and so on? Has anyone seen anything like that? How much does that help? A lot. You know what happens? I have been thinking about something, and I'm pretty sure all of you have been thinking about it too. When we have this, we end up talking about the work, and we talk a lot about the work. But the question is, who is doing the work? So if you have this thing here, there are some things to do. You can do this. Cross your fingers and hope for the best. Or you can do something different. What could we do if we stumble upon this? Burn, one idea. Now, I want to introduce to you the best friend of a product person. Here, I'm going to show it to you. This is the trash bin, the best friend of a product person. So what you're going to do is this. You're going to throw it away, and you say, screw it. Now let's have a serious conversation. I doubt that. Now we have time to talk about what matters. But there's one thing. We do need to understand our reality. So I want to have a comparison here between theory and reality. And when I talk about this, okay, when I show the reality, you may feel powerless. But I'm not here today to make you feel powerless. I am here today to give you insights that when you leave that door, you can apply immediately. Today for a better tomorrow. But let's talk about the promised land. The promised land is something very beautiful. You have this person in the middle here. Maybe you are this person in the promised land, and you are going to have a decision power. You decide what you're going to do next. And if you have this, as Sean said, you can decide to run experiments. You have the power for that. And you can craft the product vision, as Janet said. You're going to picture the future. It's beautiful. What else you're going to do? You're going to define the strategy. You know the game you're playing. What else? Of course, you're going to uncover ideas that are worth pursuing so you can create value for customers and collect business value. Focus on what? Outcome. And you partner with business. Very important. Look at the word I wrote there, partner with business. I'm not saying that you're going to manage stakeholders because people don't like being managed. You have to align with them, work together. And for sure, you're not going to create that thing I just put in the trash, for God's sake. You're going to create things oriented on outcome. And what else you're going to do? Well, you're going to talk to those who use your product. A little bit obvious, but doesn't happen that often. And ultimately, you are a value maximizer. Now, honest question again. Who is in this road here? Raise your hand. Oh, that's great. I see a few people. I'm not going to raise mine. Sometimes I am, sometimes not. But the real conversation we need to have, it is about the harsh reality. It's a little bit different. So what happens? Well, you're going to follow decisions, and you cross your fingers, you hope for the best. And the product vision. What is the vision? Maybe the vision is to deliver all features by the end of the quarter. It's promised. It's good. Sales sold that, right? And strategy? If available, you follow something. If available. And if you're wondering what is a strategy, it's something that helps you simplify decision making. You can say yes to something and no to loads of things. But when you are here in the harsh reality, you generally bet on features and you hope for the best. Not fun. And what about the business? You have to please them. You have to please the gods. The business, sorry. And what else? Well, you're going to craft the thing I just threw away. Unfortunately. And you're going to talk to business people. You are going to gather requirements from them, and you're going to deliver on their wants without knowing the needs from customers. And ultimately, you create features nobody uses. Now, who is in this reality, or at least has some of these elements? It's part of the game. The question is, how can we move away from this? We'll try giving you some insights, but when you look at this, there are the two realities, what I call as the promised land and the harsh reality. Unfortunately, most teams are not in the promised land. If you are there, like a few of you raise their hands, delivering value is going to be a piece of cake. You have the elements you need in place, so you can continuously benefit from that. But if you are on the other one, then it's going to be very hard for you. Then it's the moment that many times when we are in that thing I call the harsh reality, we end up doing many things other than product management. And what do we do instead? Well, we do what I like to say, bullshit management. The name is a little bit strong because I want to describe what I was feeling after 15 years working with products. So I first wrote a blog post in 2022 with one question. Are you doing product management or bullshit management? I did realize I was doing bullshit management. And what is that? It is an art. The art of spending value doing things that bring no value, but drain your energy. And there's a magic equation behind it. What do you think it is? The more bullshit you handle, the less value you create. So how do you know if you're doing bullshit or not? If you cannot answer how what you're doing right now drives value, I'm sorry. You're in this road. But we can change. So I want to give you a few examples, common examples of our enemy here. I call it the enemy, bullshit management. And I want to inspire you today to defeat this guy. It's not a nice guy. The sad thing is, it is spread all over the place. It's funny because in the beginning of my career, I just felt stupid because things were not going right. Then I moved to another place, another place, another place. And I realized that the same things are all over the place. So let's start talking about the backlog. I want you to picture one thing. Imagine you get a new job. Then the first day, your manager asks you to do the following. Look at the backlog to understand how we work. And then once you go to the backlog, you find 1,762 items. What would you do? Good. So what happened is, I was this guy actually, and I had this backlog. I tried to understand what was there for 2 days. And for me, the picture I had in my head was the Christmas wish list of a 6-year-old. It tells me nothing, and I cannot understand where we're going. And why I say the Christmas wish list of a 6-year-old, I have a godson, and once he asked me, hey, David, once you come to Brazil, can you bring me new pair of sunglasses? I said, sure, what else? Said, also Captain America socks. And I also would like a new hoodie. I said, but Brazil is quite hot. I said, yeah, but I want a new hoodie. And if you could bring me that taste strawberry jam, it would be awesome. And I was just picturing that. The guy wearing the Captain America socks with a new hoodie and then tasting the strawberry jam. That's what I saw in the backlog. It wouldn't tell anything. But then I decided to do something different. I thought, so what should I do with this backlog? The first thing I did was to analyze it. And I took a picture of this backlog. I want to show it to you. So once I look at the backlog, look, it was very hard to understand what was that. So first thing I did was a little cleanup. I filtered everything that was not touched over the last 6 months. And then I did this. Again, you need to make the trash bin bigger, not your backlog. So I did that. 650 items to the trash. Guess how many emails I received after that? 2. One stakeholder told me the following. I swear to God, I didn't write this nonsense. The other was a QA. He said, oh, this bug is fixed 2 years ago. I like that. Then I created what I call as the extreme backlog cleaning. I will show you too. So most backlogs are very similar. They just have everything in. Old promise, new promise, nice to have. So the thing is, it complicates your judgment. And it creates a lot of expectations. This thing that you say, let's put in the backlog, we keep the discussion for later. You're going to have several times the discussion that is for later. I like more a lean strategy for backlog management. The very first thing you need to do is to separate the old from the new. And what do you do then? Say, new things stay, and the old things, welcome to the trash bin. But that wouldn't be enough. You still need to do something else. Because it might be that your backlog has nothing to do with a Go, and you need to answer one question. What matters most right now? Sean said in the morning, priority number one, singular. That means you need to have the guts to define what matters most right now. Then you practice the exercise again. So everything that doesn't fit your goal, trash bin. And what fits your goal, you keep in the backlog, a small one. And I know many people here would challenge me on that and say, yeah, but we just keep there at the bottom and don't talk about it. The thing is, like, we keep thinking about it. We need to focus on what matters. And whatever is relevant will come back to you during the right context. Because the context is always changing, and we need to talk about things within the right context. And we should ensure that the old doesn't distract or doesn't block the new. So what do you want to have? It is the lean backlog management. Just keep cleaning that. Remember, it's your friend. This guy here is nice. And how can you treat the backlog items? You need to understand how they age. If you think they are going to age like wine, what are you going to get? Confusion. You're going to get some trouble. And I had a few situations like that. In Germany, for example, some people go on maternity leave and they come back 2 years after. And we were in the middle of a sprint. I was a product manager. And what happened is, software engineer came to me, said, David, what should I work on next? I don't feed software engineers with tasks. Generally, I point the direction, but the team had already defined how they would achieve the sprint goal. Said, oh, give me some time, and then I'm going to talk to you. And then I got sucked in meetings, and I forgot about it. The next day, during the daily stand-up, she said, I'm working a new newsletter. So I have just implemented because I had refined that before my maternity leave. So I knew what to do. The only thing was that by that time, the company was being called as spammers. Our customers were fed up with the amount of emails we're sending. So that item was totally irrelevant, and she worked on that. Not shame on her, shame on me. I kept that on the backlog. But if you treat the backlogs like milk, they spoil fast, and your teams are just going to thank you for that. So just get rid of them. It's very important to develop this mindset because it helps you focus on what truly matters. So the principle I call here is backlog items age like milk, not wine. This is part of the Agile Product Manifesto that I co-authored with people from all over the world. And what about the second thing? We're going to talk about 3 traps today. So let's talk about meetings. So many people think that they use Scrum, Kanban, or whatever, but the most used framework nowadays, it is the calendar-driven framework. You do whatever is in your calendar. So you let your calendar drive you. You don't own your time. Now, I think we should have another conversation here. So raise your hands if you have less than 20 hours of meeting a week. That sounds good. And if you have somewhere between 20 and 30, let's prioritize. And if you have more than 30, okay, go to your calendar, start deleting some things. So it's very complicated now. Let's go back before COVID. What happened? Most people worked in the office. The office has a physical limitation. We have a certain number of meeting rooms with a number of chairs, right? So if the meeting room is booked, no meeting is going to take place. Or you figure out another way of getting the problem solved. And if the meeting room has 4 chairs, then 4 people will attend. And today, what does it happen? unlimited meeting rooms with virtual unlimited space. So you have more meetings with more people. How good is that? So it's not fun. So regardless of the agile framework you're going to use and so on, you may think you're working with that, but actually what you're working with this. So you do need to own your time. And you need to be mindful about the meetings you create and the ones you accept. My philosophy is the following. If the meeting has no goal, I reject immediately. That's the first thing I do. Because people need to put a goal in the meeting. The second thing, if it has a goal, I will look at that and I will check if I can contribute to achieving that goal. And then I will still say, can I do something other than attending a meeting? Maybe I just provide some context. It is possible to send a text message. It is possible to have a coffee with someone and discuss something. You don't need a meeting for everything. So you can take control of your calendar again. What about the third trap? The balance of saying yes and no. What often happens is the fear. So if you have fear of saying no, then you're going to have a bloated backlog. It's just a question when you want to have the discussion. Do you want to have before or later? I like focus. And you can only focus if you learn how to say no. But let me tell you how you don't say no, so you don't repeat my mistakes. I realized at some point I was saying yes too much, so I had to change that. So my approach was very simple. I say no 3 times to whatever comes in my direction. If the person bothers to come the 4th, we talk. Nickname, business blocker. That's what happened with me, the business blocker. Didn't work well. Don't do that. Then I tried another strategy. You need to help people say no to themselves. So go on a chat. For example, someone comes to me, I have this cool feature here and it's going to change the world. I said, cool. How do you know that? Which evidence do you have? How many customers paid that in advance? Help me understand. How does this contribute to our product strategy? How does this help us achieve our goal right now? Then people start, I don't have the answers for that. You may help them get the answers, but you should not say yes until you get them. So you have a conversation, is a more collaborative way. It takes more time. But then people may look at you and say, all right, it's not the moment for that. It doesn't help with our strategy. What you need to have in mind is the impact of yes and no. Every yes you say is a responsibility you get, while no, it is a decision to remain focused. The balance between yes and no is highly important. Generally, I say you should say no 10 times more than you say yes. So you have to figure out how it works in your scenario. For me, what really worked was having a conversation. So I have a lot of conversations about this. It takes time, but then people can say no to themselves. And now, we talked about bullshit management. There will be loads of things getting in the way here. The truth is, you cannot avoid that. But dealing with it and creating value, that's the magic and the challenge. What I recommend many teams doing, and what I do with them, is to look at their reality and start saying, what is happening? So are you more on the right or the left side here? For example, are they talking about requirements all the time? Requirement is a bit dangerous because the word requirement implies that it's final, and it's not often the case. How do you make decisions? Do you rank opinions higher than evidence? Ooh, that's a problem. So you understand your scenario here, and then you choose one to change at a time. You cannot change everything at once. That's not going to work. And then use the power of experimentation. Start doing something today. start changing things, but one at a time. And what I want to talk to you, it is about the right ingredients of this game here, how you can simplify. And actually, it's not that hard. As Jason Fried, the founder of 37 Signal, said, it is simple until you complicate it. So product management fundamentals to me is just 3 elements. We have the strategy, which has the objective of simplifying decision making. When your team has a clear strategy, you know the game you're playing, what to say yes to, what to say no to. And then you have product discovery, which will help you uncover what creates value. And then product delivery, which is beyond features. It is about creating impact, creating value. And this is not a waterfall. It is highly intertwined. So one helps the other. And once you have them well aligned, you can rock. But for example, product discovery may help you understand your strategy needs some tweaks, and that's fine. The same goes to delivery. So you are always learning and sometimes unlearning. And for today specifically, I want to talk about product discovery because that has a lot of opportunities for many teams. And what we are going to talk here is about a mindful journey. And I'm not calling it a process, I call it as a journey. The very first thing is start with the goal. What are you aiming for? And that should be outcome oriented. But not only that, you need to know the cards you have. What are the trade-offs you can make? For example, can you increase the customer acquisition cost? Can you invest here? What are the cards you have? And what are the cards you don't have? What do you need to protect? For example, in one of the businesses I worked, the CEO told me, we have to increase our adoption rate. And you can invest money on that. It is not a problem to lose money because we need to find market fit. But it is a problem to reduce satisfaction because we are bad enough there. So you cannot make it worse. So that was something I had to protect. And what about after? Get off the building and understand. Get out of the business and understand your audience, where they are. What are they trying to achieve? What are the jobs they're trying to get done? So once you understand your audience, you are going to uncover what is natural for them. Then you can create a solution that they will adopt easily. Many times what happens is we stay in the office and then we create solutions that are rational. Then people need to change their behavior. That's a different game, not that simple. So talk to your audience, understand them, observe. And then you can uncover the value drivers. And I like the term value drivers because it is a reminder that everything we do needs to drive value. A value driver can relate to a problem customers have and they care about. Can relate to a wish. Maybe there's something that they would pay for that. It is a relevant wish or a need they have. Teresa Torres called these, for example, as opportunities. It's the same thing, but opportunities for me can be misleading. Might be an opportunity that doesn't drive value. So value drivers is to remind us about it. But, as I said, there will always be more to do than capacity. You have to prioritize. And here it's not about finding the right thing. It is about placing bets. So what are you going to bet on? And then you can move to the solution space. Before that, we were still in the problem space, understanding what to do. So try reinventing the future. What could be different? But then it will become a challenge here, the assumptions. So you assume customers are willing to pay for that. You assume you can build it. You assume that they will understand how to use it. You have to validate your assumptions, the most critical ones. Does anybody here know what an assumption is? Any attempt to define it? Assumption would be a belief we have that something is going to happen, but we don't have evidence backing that up. Untested assumptions are the mother of fuck-ups. We may assume something happens, we create the feature, nobody cares, then we are going to cry because nobody's using But then based on evidence, once you confront against reality, you can decide what to do. Maybe you say, this idea, we're going to drop it. Maybe you're going to invest further on that. Many teams spend time with the wrong question. How can we accelerate product delivery? Creating more features nobody cares isn't the answer. A better question is, how fast can we drop bad ideas? Many ideas are going to fail, and that's okay. And this is not a process. This is a journey. And who are you in this journey? For sure, not a passenger. You are the driver. And as a driver, you are going to choose when to move forward, when to go backward, when to take a left turn, a right turn, how long you're going to stay there. You make the calls. You make the decisions here. And it's very important to become the driver. Because sometimes you may become the passenger without even knowing who the driver is. Then, no mystery, you're going to crash, and that's going to hurt. And you may look at all of this and say, David, I don't have any of that. How do I move on? That's part of the game. What I tell many teams, you always can do something. What is important is to step back from your reality and start observing what is happening. And then you choose one item at a time to do differently. And I want to show to you what I call as the health checks. You can look at different ones here, starting with the strategy. Look at your strategy. What is creating? Talk to your teams. Do a health check. The very first thing about ownership, are we talking about output or outcome? Remember what Janet showed there. There were the dogs. Just keep that in mind. What are you talking about here? What matters most? And what about prioritization? Is it inside the team or outside the team? Different games. Remember, it is about how fast you can run experiments. If your strategy it is not prioritizing that, it will be very hard. And the decision making. Is it about finding the right thing to do that you need to analyze? Going back to what I said in the beginning, talking about the work instead of doing it, or about focusing on progressing. And it is about perceiving a decision like this. A bad decision is often better than no decision, because a bad decision creates learning, while no decision creates nothing. What about goal? Do you have them set it up and you use every day? For example, you have a daily stand-up. You say how what you're doing right now contributes to your goal. Once you go to a product review, you say how what you developed contribute to the ultimate goal. When you go to sprint planning or whatever, you talk about the ultimate goal that you want to achieve. You make it alive. And how do you work with teams? Is it something that you have to coordinate tasks or you collaborate? At the end of the day, creating digital products, it's all about people and collaboration. But then you can run discovery health checks as well, where you can understand what is happening, what do you have. Is it clear, the value proposition you have? And do you use that to accelerate decisions, knowing what you're going to say no to, using as an anchor? What about customer interviews? Talking to them is not enough. It is about collecting insight. Ideally, you talk to customers every week and you gather insights from that. What about assumptions? Are you identifying them or just ignoring? And the other part is testing. Are you testing the most critical ones? Meaning that if they would be falsified, your idea becomes worthless. What about ideation? That's a very important thing. When you ideate on a problem you're trying to solve, do you come up with the one solution you're going to go all in? It's very easy then to fall prey to confirmation bias, commitment escalation, and all of these things that are going to trap us. But if you explore multiple ideas for the same problem, then you can compare what makes sense. And if you look at this and you say, my God, I am on the red side here. What should I do today? Start with the assumptions. Regardless of your situation, you can always identify the assumptions. And you can run product experiments. You can run product experiments in 24 hours. You can run surveys, for example. You can talk to people. You can show results. You don't need to ask for permission on that. You can just do it. For example, one of the companies that I know some people of, they struggled with experiments. They work for a German manufacturer from Bayern. I'm not going to tell which one it is. But what happened is they said, you cannot talk to our customers. That is not allowed. What they did, they just walked on the streets in Munich, and whenever someone would park a specific car, they would go and say, hey, how do you use your navigation? How do you get from A to B? And the person would say, oh, actually, I don't use this. This is very shitty. What I do, I connect to my Android. I use Android or Apple, and I use that, and so on. So they didn't ask for permission. They just went to the users and started testing the assumptions. And then they presented the results to the car manufacturer in Germany. And then actually they said it would be a very bad investment, so let's do something else. They didn't have the card, but they start with the assumptions. So can always do something like that. And the last one you can do is about the product delivery. So you start looking at this. And apology for the software engineers here, but I recommend actually using technical data to accelerate learning. Why do I say that? First, you build to learn, then to scale. So you build something very quick and dirty, and test that with a few users, and see how much resonates with them. And if that is bad, trash. But if that's good, then you start paying the debt off. But you shouldn't build it right from the beginning, because then you say, it is a very good solution that nobody cares. I'm unwilling to put that into the trash. And how do you measure results? Output or outcome? Another secret. In 2015, I was promoted to a senior product manager. Reason, I increased velocity of the team consistently from 30 story points to 48, whatever that means. What about feature removal? When was the last time you removed a feature from your product? That's a problem. So many teams think that a good product is the one you have nothing to add. Actually, I think a good product is the one you have nothing to remove. What about failures? Which questions do you ask? How do we avoid this next time? Or what can we learn from it? And our friend, the backlog. So is it focused on objectives, or is it like you have items that they go there and live forever? The dinosaurs. Long live the dinosaurs. It's tricky. But the thing is, by now you should have understand how hard this game is. And you cannot change the difficulty of the game. That's not something you can change. The game is very hard. There will be always more to do, features all over the place, prescriptive roadmaps like the one I just threw it away here. You cannot change the challenge you receive, but you can choose your answer to the challenge. Whatever challenge you face, you always have a choice. You can be the victim or the hero. When you play the victim of the circumstance, you complain, and everything else is to blame, not you. And guess what changes? Just nothing. But if you're the hero of your story, you dare. You dare to take risks, and maybe it changes. Here, it is about resilience. It's more like being Rocky Balboa. It's not how hard you can hit. It's about how hard you can get hit and keep moving forward. And the question I have for you is very simple. What is your choice? Thank you.
David, thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Just one more thing. So, for those who want to learn more about me and about my work, oops.
Let's get back to that slide. That's an important slide.
It's an important slide, yeah. So I wrote a book, and this book is not about telling you what you should do. It is a book about hope. Hope that you can do better. Hope that you can transform your scenario. I have a few books here. If you want to buy it from me, you can just approach me, and you get a hard signed copy.
Yes, I think some books are still available. So
yeah, a few of
please
them.
grab a copy. I already have mine with some pleasant wishes for future product life and everything. Yeah, I don't know. Actually, I'm absolutely delighted by the energy you brought to the room. And going back to what I was saying in the opening while introducing you. So it is meant to be a closing keynote where I think we succeeded to make it a little bit more personal. I hope so for each and every person in the room, because I think great things happen when you actually care about what you do, and maybe it's not often efficient to take things personally. It's actually counter-efficient. But caring about what you do, I think that's what I'm trying to say. So I think this story of David, who definitely cares about his craft of product management. Thank you for sharing once again everything you have said. And let's go to questions. I don't know. I think we should have quite a few. Any? Okay. Well, why are you still thinking? No hands, right? I don't know. Volunteers, maybe. I'm a bit. I don't really see much. Oh, okay. We have one. Okay. Great. This light is crazy. Anyway. Yes,
Hi,
please.
I'm Yeva, and I noticed on one of the slides there was collaboration versus coordination.
Mhm.
So, what would define collaboration? How is the difference?
So collaboration, let me go into coordination. Generally, it's like we have a task, and then the way the teams are set up, it is working around the task. So you may have some silos. You cannot get the job done alone. You may need another department and then another. And then you end up actually coordinating the work with different departments. While collaboration, it is we focus on the goal, not on the process. We focus on working together as a group of people achieving the same goal. It's not trying to say, oh, I need you to do that. When can you do that for me? It's like, hey, let's work on this together. Let's go to the same room and get it done.
Yeah.
As an example, going into the same room, but collaborating towards the same goal and not trying to say, oh, I have other priorities here. I'm going to work on something else. And when I have time, I'm going to do that. So it's kind of removing this waiting and seeing all the time.
Yeah. Does that answer your question? Yes. Okay. Well, I guess if I can double click on this, perhaps in terms of like group dynamics, because that's a question really about the group dynamics. It's, I don't know, the nuance here that David, I think, coined quite well here is, you know, with coordination, it's sort of, it's a lot of a status game, role game, like, you know, like, oh, I have this role, you know, that's why, you know, this should work this way. And then collaboration, it's a little bit more playful. It's a little bit more messy, obviously. But then again, it comes from a place where you sort of, you know, share some goal. Not necessarily, you know, your salary will be increased if you will, you know, do certain things there, or you will get your name on a certain piece of paper or like some nomination. But you know that that bigger goal that you're trying to achieve as a group of people, because the question for sure talks about a group of people that is rather coordinated or collaborated right together. So anyway, yes, one more question there. And while we're passing the word, please, feedback. Feedback for David. Thank you. Yeah.
Hello, thanks for the presentation. A lot of the stuff that you presented uh, circles around being gatekeeper, right? Saying no to the features. And I get a sense that it's kind of killing experimentation and doesn't encourage people to be creative. So don't you have such problem in this type of work environments where there's a lot of no saying?
It's not about saying no to the future, it's saying no to what distracts us. So, for example, what is the goal we have right now? For that goal, we should be running as many experiments as possible, but for the goal we are pursuing right now. And everything that gets us out of the track, we should say no. That's what we should ensure that we are doing. In this case, it has helped a lot to remain focused on what matters most right now, instead of stretching the teams too thin, doing everything and achieving too little.
Okay, and we have a few more questions here on the left. Let's start with the first row, please.
Um, I definitely related to saying no, and also making your question owner saying no to itself. Thanks for that. But with all those insights or recommendations or like solution patterns, some of them will work, and some of them will give you some flexibility as a product manager. But at some point, you're still in 1 p.m. in a giant organization, and some of them will not work. And how do you keep your mental resilience, mental stability and resilience when some of these things work and some of these doesn't?
Yeah, that's what I said about being like Rocky Balboa. So for me, it's always, if I don't do anything, no is my answer. So I have to accept the status quo. And if I try something, I have a chance of something different. So I rather make peace with maybe that doesn't work and it will stay like it is, but at least I try. So that's how it works for me. And in general, I don't take it personal. For me, like life is too short to get worried about these things. I get passionate about trying things. And when I see something works and resonate with somebody else, then you get more advocates for that. And then you see some moves and so on. That's what I try doing to inspire more people to try out things. And you're deadly right. Not everything is going to work. Many are not going to work at all. But then, like, if you say, all right, I'm not going to try again, whatever, then it's where I lose the drive. Generally, when I'm trying to find product people for organizations I work for or work with, I search for three things: curiosity, resilience, and communication. And curiosity is like whatever we do now may be good, but let's try something. And resilience, if you try, may not work. And communication is because you do need to talk to a lot of people, so it's part of the game.
Yeah, yeah, can relate to that. And one more question over there. Yes, please.
Hello, thank you for the great presentation. So, one practical question. So, imagine I'm that product backlog owner, and I really want to transition to this, more meaningful product manager role. But there's, many more things I need to do. I have to work on the strategy. I need to talk to customers. I need to, come up with some kind of outcomes and persuade the managers that this is the, better way to do. I need to persuade the whole team so that we invest more time in iterative, let's say, experimentation and try few things rather than just do one thing. So how I should succeed in this? Where should I get this extra capacity to do all those things? Thank you.
Welcome. So first, you're not alone on that. Many people are trapped in this situation. And you're brave to speak up and say you want to change. Congratulations on that. So what you can do differently, it is you have to choose one thing to start doing differently. And the others you swallow for a while, and that's fine. So a transition, you cannot change everything from day to night. That doesn't happen. But you can say, for example, instead of just gathering requirements and going there, what if I name the assumptions, I run some experiments, and I show results to the others, and then we start talking about it? That's one approach. Another, you can say, in a quarterly capacity, what if we define 20% of our capacity outcome-oriented, and then you deliver on the results by the end of the quarter? So it's trying to have a start point that will unlock the other parts and keep doing, but focus on one and the others, sorry, but need to swallow. And I have been I have learned that once you swallow, you meet the team where they are, not where you want them to be, and you go step by step. That helps you gain the credibility you need and the trust to move the other things.
Excellent. And one more question over here, please.
I would like to clarify, you put feature-based roadmap into trash, but when harsh reality goes out and comes promised land, I think that it comes goal-based roadmap. Could you clarify, because you put it into trash and said no roadmaps? But I think that you wanted to tell that you put to trash future-based roadmaps, not goal-based.
That was a feature base, so it was written on top there. That's what I threw it away.
Yeah. So, okay.
Roadmap, I think it is important, but roadmaps should be something like, I like the format of Yana Bastov now, next, later. I just had one column that I like very much called trash, because generally everything becomes later that we don't want to discuss right now. So I commit to put some things in the trash, so we are not going to discuss about that. But outcome roadmaps, I support that.
Okay, thank you.
Welcome.
Thanks for clarifying and thank you for asking. Perhaps more questions like that were in the room. Rice? Okay, nice. We have more.
So in every product organization, there is engineering as well and technical backlog. So how do you navigate both product and technical backlog?
One product, one backlog. We have to collaborate on that. So what I do with software engineers, like, because I worked in organizations that there was the design roadmap, the technical roadmap, and the product roadmap. And I always ask the same question: how many products do we have? And the answer is one, so it's one product backlog. And what can be is like, what is important right now? Of all of these technical things that we could do, what will they enable us to achieve? So that could be part of a goal, and then we work on that. That's fine. But we should ensure we don't have separate backlogs, because that creates silos, and then it will create the need of coordinating activities. So I merge everything, and sometimes what I do, if teams are unwilling to merge, I just delete everything so we have the conversations we should be having.
So at least for that, the meeting is a good idea, right?
Oh, yeah.
Excellent. And one more question.
Just to support Aurima's question regarding feedback and regarding the throwing the roadmap feature-based and the goal roadmap left. What about the product vision? Are you thinking that product vision is more important than the goal, or same importance, or the goal is most important?
The product vision is more long-term. It should help us make decisions, but it is not the only thing. So the product vision, for example, if you look at SpaceX, what is the vision of SpaceX? Does anybody know? 2 words. Populate Mars. How do you make decisions on that right now? It's hard. So you need to have intermediary goals that will enable you to get to the product vision. So they are complementary, different flight levels, but not excluding. What I put there on strategy, if you would go deeper in my book on chapter 5, for example, strategy for me has some elements. And the first one is a vision, where to land. The second one is the dynamics of your strategy, then the value curve on how you differentiate from your competition, and then a goal-oriented roadmap. This is what I call strategy.
Thank you. And perhaps we are done with the questions. And once again, David, thank you so much. A round of applause for David.
Thank you.
Thank you.